Officer Grammond said, for certain I was hitting that guy, but he just wasn't going down. He was still continuing to shoot at me. Within moments, both that bad guy and Officer Grammond's both ran out of ammo. The bad guy actually ran back to his car, grabbed another handgun, while Officer Grammond's reloaded his duty weapon, and they began shooting at each other again. And again, Officer Grammond's was actually hitting this bad guy, but the bad guy just wasn't going down. So today, you are going to learn why that saying of, if I can't take care of it with 6 shots, I shouldn't be carrying a gun to begin with. Today, you are going to learn why that is such bad advice. So let's jump right into it. Drop your weapon, drop your... So folks, I never know when there's new viewers to the channel, so I always have to get this out of the way. I am a 20-year police veteran, plus I have also been forced into a self-defense police action shooting myself. So the information that I'm giving to you in this video is from real life experience. So getting back to the topic of this video, which is where you hear so many people say, if I can't take care of the problem with 6 shots, then I don't need to be carrying a gun to begin with. Let's talk about how that is so based in not having any knowledge of the realities of deadly use of force. If somebody had any knowledge or any experience in the use of deadly force, if somebody had ever been involved in an actual gunfight themselves, they would never make that statement. To really perfectly illustrate this, let me tell you the story about a police officer. I think his last name was Grammond. So Officer Grammond actually shot a violent felon, a violent criminal, 14 times. He shot that criminal 6 times fatally, but it took 14 shots to get that criminal to finally stop shooting at that police officer. What had happened was they had dispatched out that an armed robbery had just occurred, and Officer Grammond spotted that suspect driving down the road, did a traffic stop, and during that traffic stop, that guy exited his car out, began shooting at Officer Grammond. Officer Grammond returned fire while he was in his car, shooting, I believe, through his own windshield. Officer Grammond said, for certain I was hitting that guy, but he just wasn't going down. He was still continuing to shoot at me. Within moments, both that bad guy and Officer Grammond's both ran out of ammo. The bad guy actually ran back to his car, grabbed another handgun, while Officer Grammond's reloaded his duty weapon, and they began shooting at each other again. And again, Officer Grammond's was actually hitting this bad guy, but the bad guy just wasn't going down. Now you also have to take into account here that when they're shooting at each other, you know, especially the bad guy is not standing still. You are trying to hit a moving target that is actually shooting back at you. So anyways, they both run out of ammunition again, and this time Officer Grammond gets his weapon reloaded, and during that time he is able to take a better position, and they ended up with their cars between them, and when this bad guy crouched down to look at Officer Grammond to get a better shot at the officer was able to take good aim, and actually he had to shoot, I think, that bad guy 3 times in the head. As somebody that's experienced a deadly force encounter myself, I know that firearms legal protection is the right legal service plan to use for me and my family. They provide attorneys, bail bonds, and expert witnesses for court. All of the things that self-defenders need if they get charged. Click the affiliate link down below to get a discount when you join. And actually he had to shoot, I think, that bad guy 3 times in the head before that bad guy finally went down and finally quit shooting at him. So now Officer Grammond carries, I believe, 138 or 145 rounds or something like that, just of handgun rounds while he's on duty. That's not even including his rifle rounds. Now, surprisingly enough, when the medics arrived, this bad guy, after being shot 14 times and 6 times fatally, still had a heartbeat. And as a side note, both the officer and that bad guy got taken to the same hospital in the same emergency room. And so the officer ended up in an emergency room with only that curtain separating him and that bad guy he just shot 14 times. And Officer Grammond heard that doctor say, why did that officer shoot this guy so many times? Every time we put a pint of blood into him, it just comes pouring right back out onto the floor. Now folks, that is an obvious sign of somebody that's never been involved in a life or death situation. Otherwise, he never would have asked that question. So I told you that story to illustrate that anytime you hear somebody say, well, if I can't take care of it in 6 shots, I shouldn't be carrying a gun to begin with. I told you that story to illustrate that when you hear that, that is coming from the mouth of somebody that has no idea of the realities of the deadly use of force. So folks, usually when you hear somebody say that, it's because they are justifying why they carry a revolver, an old-fashioned revolver, instead of an ACP. And I don't have anything against it when somebody chooses to carry a revolver over an ACP. But what I do take issue with is them saying that they can take care of any problem with 6 shots when that is not the reality. Folks, like I've mentioned in my other videos, when you have your bad guy moving and he's coming at you with a knife, or he's moving and shooting at you, it might take 6 shots before you even hit the bad guy. And then what I mentioned just earlier in the video with Officer Grammons, even he shot that bad guy 6 times fatally and had to shoot him 14 times before he went down. Also too, in these life or death situations where panic mode sets in and your caveman and lizard brain takes over and you start losing fine motor skills, your accuracy rate just plummets, because in a real life or death situation, when you actually think you're about to die, unless you act right now to try to save your life, your accuracy just plummets during those real situations like that. It's completely different than when you are on the range shooting at a paper target that's not trying to kill you. So if you are one of those people that preach that if I can't take care of it in 6 shots, I shouldn't be carrying a gun to begin with, there is just countless examples, video examples of good, clean shots that cops and citizen self-defenders are putting on bad guys. I'm talking good, clean shots that they put on these bad guys, and these bad guys keep coming. Heck, here's a video here where a cop shot a bad guy of almost point-blank range 12 times in the chest before the guy went down. And folks, we also have to remember, again, like I said earlier, the body can absorb enormous amounts of damage before it goes down. So the more rounds that you can pump into that violent bad guy that's trying to kill you, then the quicker he'll go down and stop attacking you. And we also have to remember that there is no hard rule that says that your attacker is by himself. There is no rule that says that your attacker doesn't have buddies that are nearby. And we also have to remember that many attackers, or a lot of times these bad guys, are many times on drugs and alcohol that might dull some of that pain of those wounds that you're inflicting on them. In Officer Grammons' case, where he shot that guy 14 times, 6 times fatally, his attacker was not on drugs or alcohol. His attacker absorbed all that damage just by sheer determination to try to kill that officer. Relax, folks. This is an old, dead, rotted out tree. I would never shoot into a live and healthy tree. And since filming all of these videos, I've been able to save up for a steel target anyways. Now don't click off the video just yet. We've got more powerful knowledge coming, but do me a favor and comment down below. Have you ever heard anybody make that statement of, if I can't take care of it in 6 shots, I shouldn't be carrying a gun to begin with? Now, I've brought this up in other videos, but it needs to be brought up again for this video here. Is in most self-defense situations, you just don't have the time to take your gun out and line it up and get your sights lined up just perfect to get that perfect shot to drop your bad guy in just 1 or 2 shots. Unfortunately, in many self-defense situations, you go from 0 to I got to pull my gun and I got to shoot right now, because you only have milliseconds before that bad guy inflicts his lethal wound on you. So if you are one of those people that say, if I can't take care of it with 6 shots, I don't need to be carrying a gun to begin with, just remember, bad guys don't always go down even after being fatally shot. They many times die later instead of right there at that scene. Also too, the big, huge one, when you are in that state of urgency and in panic and in fight or flight, and you honestly believe that you are about to die, that many times, because of the reasons I listed before, your accuracy rate plummets. So the more rounds that you can pump into your bad guy to stop his deadly attack against you, the better for you. And to learn why you will almost certainly miss your attacker should you ever have to shoot a bad guy to defend your life, and to learn what 90% of the general public does not know, then click on the video that should be appearing on the screen just about now to learn that powerful knowledge. Anyways, folks, that is enough internet for today. It is time to go train. And folks, if you made it this far, hey, thank you very much for watching, and I pray that you have a good night.